Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
Ever.
Which is never ready enough.
That's right. John Peckman Podcast. John Peckman Podcast. Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge. Listen carefully, Tim. You go over the bridge. You go through one set of lights. You start looking left. It's not just something I say. It's actually directions on how to get here.
It's actually accurate.
It is.
Don't take a right when you come off the bridge.
No, you don't want to go there. No. Main Street, Portland.
Take it to the bridge and jump off.
That's right.
Well, no, we can't say that here.
That's right. Like and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell people you barely know. Listen, Dave will tell you how to have your very own podcast here if you want to in the studio. Anybody can do it, clearly.
Dave's got good facilities here, I might add, too.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a facilitator.
Smoking.
Yeah, definitely. We're here today. Tim McDonald. Try to get him forever. He's here. A man in flux. We got to hurry up.
You got to drag me kicking and screaming.
Got to get him while he's here. Yeah, don't take a right. He even up until getting here, it was still like, no.
It was like, yeah. I was hesitant. And
it's too late now.
I'm involved in this business in many different ways, and
that's right.
Yet I'm still on the other side of the aisle. So.
We're gonna get into all of it. So I know Tim. I've known Tim for a while. I remember when you were like the new guy on the scene around here. That was a while ago, but that's how.
It was 1998 when I finally arrived here.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I remember that.
All the way from San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to take? Well, if you've heard the show, you know how it works. Talk about what you're doing now, just in case people don't listen or watch the whole thing. Tell us what you're doing now of any importance that you would like to.
Well, I'm doing a lot of stuff. I don't know how important it is, but and I'm even playing with you sometimes, as you know.
And the most unimportant of all.
Yeah, I'm involved in playing solo, meeting myself and I.
Sure. Well, that's a trio.
Playing, classic songs, and also some songs that I wrote too. I slip in there and I sneak them in.
Sure.
On the solo gigs.
Why not?
And I'm also involved very deeply with a young woman named Hallie Yagi.
Yeah, that's right.
Spelled Jaegggi to further confuse you, but
sure.
If you look her up, she's got her own. YouTube. Actually, she's got her own website.
Oh, cool.
You can see our gigs.
All right, we'll check it out.
Got involved with her when she was 14, and now she's 20.
Whoa.
And we have what I feel is a tremendous vocal blend.
Yes.
As well as her talents on the cajon and just in general.
Agreed.
So doing that, I'm also playing occasionally with my band, Tim McDonald and the Ghost Tones.
Sure.
Which is an amalgam of...
What does that mean? Ghost Tone.
You know what? I thought it was a cool name for whoever I was playing the gig with.
Sure.
And also those tones that you intimate when you're playing either a blues, jazz, or whatever, you kind of skip over the notes and you hope that your listener is actually grabbing those notes that you're leaving out.
Right.
So that kind of there's an actual musical,
sure,
thing going on there. So doing that and everything else I'm trying to do, always trying to write new songs and trying to find new ideas.
Sure.
So that's pretty much, and always in the hunt.
Yeah.
Always in the hunt.
Well, that's all right. But that's, we got to keep something moving in this world.
Yeah.
How did it all start for you? Where? When?
Oh, boy. I got to go back to Worcester, Massachusetts, where I grew up. Or as they say, Worcester.
Yeah, I love Worcester.
And, it's really up and coming again, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. They've got a lot of, not that I'm ever there.
Sure.
But I left when I was 18. I didn't come back for 26 years, but I was born and bred there. And
far out.
I was in bands by the time I was 9.
Great.
And gigging. And,
what part of town? Just curious.
In Maine South Worcester. And in high school, I had a band with the well-known musician Mitch Shakur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were called Henry Shackle, which was an Australian folk singer that no one knew, but we took that name and
then
high
later
school,
sued you in the millennium.
And we gigged all through high school. Wow. And we were the two young guys. Mitch was a year younger than me.
Okay.
But we had a tremendous guitar duo. Later on, he got the gig with Joe Cocker playing piano as well. He's just an amazing musician. And so
you know Cliff Goodwin?
I do.
Okay.
He was an American Standard too. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I didn't realize he was a Worcester guy too.
Yeah. A lot of those guys, a lot of guys out of Worcester Cliff Goodwin, and there's a lot of great musicians that came out of there.
Not surprised.
So we were the young guys in high school, and we kind of snookered by two older guys who had us in the band and bought all this equipment. And then when we quit the band, we found out that they had stopped paying our union dues. So we had no recourse. So we learned very early, that you got to kind of watch what you're doing. But we, getting back to Mitch and I, we had a great band in high school. Funny story is he left for San Francisco before I did.
Okay.
And I was
This would have been around when?
I would say 1971, 1972.
Okay.
And as I was going out there, he was coming back.
Oh.
So that was that.
Was he like, yo, don't go there?
No, not at all.
He just was like,
just doing something, came back and started his own thing. And
why there?
well, I had my choice. My parents wanted to send me to Berklee School of Music.
Okay.
And I had two choices, either hitchhike to San Francisco or go to Berklee School of Music. Yeah. I guess I chose the former.
Wow. Right out front of your house in Worcester.
We just went. My best friend.
How long did it take you to get there?
Well, we ended up getting on a Winnebago. Okay. So it was kind of cool. We went across country the first time. Got to L.A. and took the midnight flight to San Francisco on a Friday night.
Why not
L.A.? Which only cost $10, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not? L.A. just wasn't happening, or it was over?
I had people that I knew in San Francisco.
Okay.
And my best friend also had a place to stay. So that's where we ended up.
Good enough.
Ended up in a couple of bands in San Francisco.
Okay.
And within, I would say a month, we were being broadcast live from the record plant where Fleetwood Mac had just finished Rumors.
Hey.
And I thought, well, I guess I'm not going back to Worcester.
Yeah, no, I guess this is,
not right now anyway.
Wow, so it happened quick.
It did, as far as the band Rescue. And we almost had some good success.
That's cool. That's cool.
Ended up in another band where I met a partner who was a great guitar player, good singer, songwriter. And we ended up being sort of like the Allman Brothers version of Thin Lizzy, only in San Francisco.
Wow.
And we were the kings of Hate Street. We were really like the number one draw on Hate Street.
Hey, that's cool.
All through my 20s. So I had a great time.
So you went out and basically did what you went out to do.
I did.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you think that you wouldn't, or you just showed up and were like, yo?
At that point, we were aimless. I was pretty much aimless, just taking what the road put in front of me.
Yep.
Yep. And I had done a lot of hitchhiking around the country before that, living in a few other places.
Yep.
And my best friend actually came back and rescued me from Worcester. Not that Worcester was a bad thing, but I wasn't doing anything musically. And he said, you got to come to San Francisco.
Sure.
And I did.
Yeah.
And,
so is it more places to play and just the industry is there?
At the time, there were a lot of places to play. It was just vibrant.
Yep.
Bands like the Tubes were just doing great.
Hey, that's cool.
Obviously the Grateful Dead and all those other offshoots of those bands. So
you're just like, this is the place to be.
Yeah, and it was an easy place to live. Believe it or not, it was very cheap.
Wow.
To live, and everybody would just walk around to everybody's apartment, which had no phones. All we needed was a turntable and the truth.
Yeah.
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 So it was a cool lifestyle. And just playing. I was just into music. We were doing no covers. It was all original music back then.
Wow. Imagine that.
Yeah. Imagine that, right?
Yeah. There was a time.
It was a time for sure.
Yeah. So all through your 20s, you're rocking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Wow.
I had a family very young.
Okay.
I had 2 kids.
Out there.
Yeah, out in San Francisco.
Okay.
Now I have grandkids out in San Francisco and San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
But it was cool. It was a great lifestyle, and made a lot of good music.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the band. It was the Charles Biscuit Band. Once again, based on a name that no one knew.
Yeah, right.
Not to be confused with Henry Shackle, but we were really poised to go to the next level.
Okay.
But we made a mistake. We went to Atlanta and signed with a management company that turned out to be pretty much bogus. Instead of going to L.A., which I think we would have had a lot more, success.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And the drummer, interestingly enough, was Ginny Whitaker, who was Country Joe and Country Joe McDonald.
Oh,
and Fish,
okay.
their drummer.
Okay.
So we were an early band that had a woman drummer. She used to take a lot of guff.
Hey,
you
that's
can
cool.
imagine.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
She was pint sized and she was playing in a wicked,
Yeah.
hard. We were hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
We back then, it was almost like Aerosmith, like again, the Allman Brothers, very intricate double leads that
that's cool.
still stand up today.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, where is everybody?
Well, unfortunately, Ginny passed away from cancer, and my guitar player died pretty much early from leukemia.
Oh, wow.
He was 30. So, strangely enough,
crazy.
Yeah, we broke up, and then they did not last much longer.
Okay.
And
but you stayed there.
I stayed there and was in a bunch of bands that I fronted. Singing and playing, and the Tubes bass player Rick Anderson was our bass player.
Oh, okay.
So we had an opening where whenever the Tubes played,
we
would open for them.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we'd use their back line, and,
Yeah.
and Rick would be our bass player. So
that's cool.
Like, I got to see the Tubes many times, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They were one of the better bands in
Yeah. That time.
in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It was and then everybody migrated to L.A.
Okay.
to get record deals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how it happened?
Yeah, with the Skinny Tie, when that all happened.
Oh, okay. It was happening
all my
in
friends
LA.
moved to L.A.
Okay.
And they got signed for one record, and then they got dropped.
Okay.
But I went to L.A. in 1981, I think.
Okay. Yeah, right. So this would have been like the Cars, the Knack, that kind of thing.
It was the Knack.
Yeah, the Knack.
And so, I went down there, had some management, and, was doing a lot of studio work.
Yeah.
And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So you always found things to do.
Yeah.
I have to sneeze.
Bless you.
Sorry.
And there was a lot of studio work going down there as far as harmonies and guitar.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going around.
Well. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying. So
yeah.
Got hooked up with session work. That's kind of cool.
I did.
Damn it. Sorry. Wow. You have a dog?
No, it's allergy season.
Yeah, is it? Yeah. Okay.
But there was a lot of work down there at the time.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool.
Strangely enough, most of my work was not on guitar; it was on vocals.
Oh wow!
And
you're a great singer.
Sweetening up the backgrounds and shading the lead vocalist to make them sound better.
Cool.
Which was my specialty.
So you're like you're the ghost note, or of a.
Very much so, yeah.
Hey, Dave, can you do me a favor? Just grab Kleenex. I just sneezed like 4 times. Thank you. Sorry, I can't leave. So always landing on your feet, more or less.
Yeah, like Woody Allen says, I'm a cat. I always land on my feet.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Never went back to Worcester.
No, I didn't. I visited quite often.
Yeah, but you didn't go crawling back.
No, not at all.
Hey, that's cool.
I'm still very close with my siblings and my family up there.
Yeah,
a lot of friends in Worcester.
Yeah, cool. No, Worcester's a great place.
But San Francisco, when I first got there, was just a wild West sort of atmosphere.
Thank you, sir.
And there was a lot of blues going on too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. For those of you not watching, that was the sound of me blowing my nose off mic. How about that?
It's a special effect.
Yeah, I guess so. How did you get into music in the first place? How did that all happen?
Oh, boy. I was 7 years old, and I heard, believe it or not, I was into the folk scene, of course.
Yeah.
I had an Emily guitar, it was plastic.
Okay.
But you could tune it. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and there was If I Had My Way, and there was a bass line. Mm-hmm. But before that, really, was Little Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
just totally blew me away with harmonica. Yeah. So I'd walk around the neighborhood playing harmonica.
Oh, wow.
I did take trumpet lessons.
Okay.
They sent a note back to my mom saying I have no musical talent whatsoever.
What?
And please,
imagine that.
Don't bother.
Wow, that's stupid.
So I got into folk music like everybody else, like James Taylor talks about the great folk scare of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, sure.
There was other kind of, I grew up with Broadway music, listening to all kinds of, my parents were really into music.
Oh, yeah.
We had the biggest stereo in the neighborhood. It was a big console.
Yeah.
Longer than this. And
it
was just, it was gorgeous.
Killer.
So I got into guitar when I was like 7 first time. And then like by 8 or 9, I was taking lessons for only 1 year.
Yeah.
From a teacher who was teaching me ukulele chords because my hands were so small.
Oh.
And but I learned pretty quickly how to play the chords. I learned slowly though, not how they learn today.
Oh,
The
really?
basic chords,
Yeah.
and much slower than the way people learn
Probably
with
better
YouTube
off.
and everything. So the basics were there. That teacher cut me loose because when the Beatles came out, I was already into playing all the folk music, and I could do gigs and everything at 8 or 9 years old.
You're like, here we go.
Yeah, the Beatles came out, and I already knew the chords.
Yeah,
so
right.
you go get the Beatle books
Yeah.
with the chords, which were always wrong, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was always one wrong chord because they were using piano chords.
Oh.
So that teacher,
That's
he was in
funny.
his 80s, Mr. Sylvester.
So there wasn't even there wasn't even a guitar. They didn't have it together yet.
No, they didn't have it together. And so
That's funny.
he got frustrated with me and the Beatles, so he cut me loose. So I
Oh, wow.
I was the young kid, the skinny little kid who would get picked on sometimes. So not so much picked on, but once I played guitar, I had my cheap Stella.
Sure.
And when they'd stop me at the baseball field on the way home from my lesson,
Yeah.
and they were, playing games or practicing,
Yeah.
and they would corral me because I was the only one who could play guitar at the time. It wasn't like it is now.
Right. So you could do musical accompaniment as they picked on someone else.
Yes, exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I remember it was Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter by
Sure.
Herman's Hermits.
Yeah, why not?
Well, the trick was to put a handkerchief under the strings to make it sound like a banjo.
Oh,
So-
right. Sure.
I was a hero. All I had to do was that, and I was golden.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
And
Got you out of.
so with that, I learned, I was already playing the chords and everything way before the Beatles came out. By the time the Beatles came out,
You're ready to roll.
I was ready to rock and roll.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And of course, doing gigs, I was always the youngest one in the lead guitar player,
Yeah.
playing with all these old guys that in high school that didn't have a lead guitar player.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
of course, it's the opposite. I'm the oldest guy in the band. But
Yeah,
at
wow.
the time,
Yeah,
I was
man.
the youngest guy in the band.
I hear you. Me too.
Yeah, I'm sure you had the similar experience.
Yeah. I was young guy in Bert Teague's
Yeah,
band.
that's right.
He was the older guy.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And so I got into music. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was just no.
You started singing right away?
I did. I wish that I had iPhones back then. I'd love to hear what kind of a squeaky voice I had.
Yeah.
I could sing, but it was high. It was higher than Stevie Winwood. Let me put it that way.
Wow. Hey, that's cool.
But it was cool. And then I got into the Young Rascals at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one song, "I've Been Lonely Too Long,"
Yep.
which killed me.
Yep.
And I just went on that tangent and was playing the Bo Brummels and all those bands that were around.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jimi Hendrix came out.
Oh, okay.
And Eric Clapton, but Jimi
Right.
Hendrix first.
Okay, that was you. That was your thing.
And that just blew my mind. I got
Yeah,
a fuzz tone and playing guitar, and we were doing, when somebody would ask me what I did at 11 years old with an attitude, I'd say Cream, Hendrix, and Blue Cheer.
Hey, that's
Only
just to
trios.
let you know.
Only
yeah,
trios.
Yeah, just who you're dealing with.
So I went from Joan Baez and the Kingston Trio to all that stuff and loving it,
That's all right.
and to go
Yeah.
trios.
Yeah.
And,
That's cool.
when you learn the Axis Boldest Love album as it's coming out,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It was, and I got to see Hendrix too.
Really?
I did.
Where?
Clark University,
Oh, of course. Yeah. What's
small little place where I graduated from the 8th grade. I saw the original Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green. I saw Jimi Hendrix, Mountain.
Wow.
I mean, I can't even remember all the bands.
Yeah.
John Mayall, all these bands would come, and it was only a 300-seater.
Yeah, I know that venue.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know Hendrix played there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. He played 2 shows.
Wow, that's so cool.
I know because I broke my father's binoculars. He loaned them to me.
Wow.
He never let me forget that one.
Yeah, right. You probably didn't even need them. Close enough. But
Yeah,
you,
right.
you wanted to see
I kind of
the
wanted to
finger
see.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see his guitars and equipment. He walked out and played with one hand.
Mm-hmm.
See him was, pardon me while I tune my guitar.
Yeah, sure.
And it was like,
Yeah.
so I was around seeing a lot of really good bands.
Crazy. Wow.
Another experience with good bands is when I hitchhiked in high school. We took off against our parents' wishes.
Sure.
And we hitchhiked to 3,000 miles to Mossport, Ontario to see the Strawberry Fields Festival,
Oh, I don't know what that.
which had Sly and the Family Stone and again, the band, Mountain,
Sure. You're in.
Procol Harum.
Yeah,
There were a million bands on that. It was their band, their answer to Woodstock.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that one. Yeah. All right. That's cool. That's cool. Is that the Festival Express? There's a movie. They're going to some festival. The band.
Oh, that was the one. No, that was the one in Western Canada where they took the train.
Okay.
And the band and Joni and everybody and Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah.
They were all on that train partying and.
Okay. This is not that. A different one. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So you're in LA, you're getting involved in session work, doing your thing. Then what? Then what happens?
Well, I came to a crossroads. I mean, obviously you had to live and make money.
Sure.
So I got hired by a radio network, which I knew nothing about.
Okay.
And it was all musicians that were working there. So it was okay.
And this is in LA.
You still felt like you were involved in the music business.
Of course.
And
why not?
And when I sat down in my seat for my cubicle,
Yep.
everybody said, "You're sitting in Weird Al's seat." Weird Al Yankovic was the employee before me.
Wow.
And
hey, that's cool.
He ended up hooking up with Dr. Demento.
What year would this be?
1981 or 83, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Because I was 10 years or at least in San Francisco.
Yep.
Playing. Yep. I played in a lot of other bands in San Francisco prior to moving down.
Sure.
But joined that radio network, and so I couldn't.
And what was your title?
I was a traffic coordinator first, then I got involved in the affiliate because they saw something in me that I could deal directly with the programmers that I could deal with. And
you were like the company freak or whatever.
Yeah, no, I was brokering Dr. Demento.
Okay.
Shows like King Biscuit Flower Hour and things like that.
So what does it mean? So you have these shows and then you're selling them to? Okay.
You get a set of markets.
Yep.
And your job is to get those shows on whatever stations.
Yeah.
So it kind of precluded me from doing a lot of the session work that I was doing during the day.
Yeah.
So then you get into the thing where you put a band together and do showcases.
Yeah.
At Madame Wong's West.
Sure.
Music Machine, Madame Wong's East.
Yeah.
And, people are coming out to check out the bands. Everybody, you're looking for a break.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. The old-fashioned sense, you just seeing if you get lucky.
So you didn't hate the day job, but you're still thinking like this is temporary or whatever.
Yeah.
And yet there you are.
And there weren't many gigs in LA.
Yeah,
It wasn't like San Francisco or even like here.
Okay.
I mean, we have a ton of gigs that you can at least play here, and people enjoy.
And you didn't want to go back to San Francisco and gig, like you say. Everybody came down to LA to get signed.
That's right.
And you're just not going back. You were like,
I eventually did.
Okay, all right.
I went back to San Francisco and got back into the scene.
Okay.
And at that point there was a pretty big blues scene in San Francisco. There still is. Strangely enough,
sure.
There's a lot of good blues players coming out of San Francisco. Tommy Castro, all those guys that tour here.
Yeah.
I was in a band called Leaping Lizards, and so we were playing the same venues.
So Weird Al had your gig.
Yeah.
Before, and he was selling the show, and then
he
said, "Hey, I'm going to
went,
make songs."
Well, he went full tilt into his comedy thing with Dr. Demento.
That's so funny.
And then his drummer, John Bermuda Schwartz, he was in production. We were sending out vinyl in those days.
Yeah, sure.
Really up until probably even in the 90s still. They were still getting vinyl. And I still have some of the shows.
Sure.
With the commercials in them, like Bob Dylan and Tom Petty.
But that's great.
John Schwartz was head of production, and he went out as a drummer with Weird Al, and they always gave him his job when he came back. But he was also my drummer in all the showcase bands.
Oh.
So.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Far out. So you're in LA doing that gig. And at some point you said you went back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
You just said, I'm done with this.
Well,
I mean,
there's always a woman involved.
Well, that's all right.
So I went back to San Francisco.
Sure.
And
quit that job.
Yeah, I quit that job. I was actually not with the radio network, but I was with another company that sold rock and roll trips.
What does that mean?
That means you send contest winners to see bands like Bon Jovi in Paris and London. Yeah. They go all over the world and those kind of things. That's funny. And I left that job and went back to San Francisco. And then I got involved in a radio theater job,
Wow.
which was on Sunday nights. It was a live show coming out of Seattle where there was a Foley on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
and
cool.
They would do these mini plays.
Yeah.
We would record them
Wow.
and syndicate them for Sunday night broadcasts on
Oh, that's kind of
radio
cool. What was it
stations.
called?
Imagination Theater.
I might remember those.
Yeah, it was really good. And we had the B-list actors that were no longer acting like the skipper from Gilligan's Island.
Right.
Or these kind of,
Right.
they were on stage
Sure.
playing the parts.
Hey, that's kind of cool.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I took that job back to West Hartford when I moved back to Connecticut.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of cool.
When I walked into West Hartford, I had already been coming here again. There was a woman involved again.
Are these all the same?
No.
Oh.
But I was
Yeah.
a serial monogamist.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Sure. Yeah, we all are. Yeah.
And so I moved here with that gig, and I had already been coming to all the jams like the Hungry Tiger, Black Eyed Sally's.
Yeah.
And so by the time I moved here, there was a booking guy that you know, Bruce Feiner,
Sure.
and he got me plugged into hosting all these places.
I see.
So
Yeah,
what
that's
a
when you
great
started.
way to meet everybody in town.
Yeah.
Was everybody was
Yeah,
coming,
that's how it started.
and we were playing together, and it was like, I don't know, it was the most
And this
welcoming
would
thing. I
be what
walked
year?
right in and sat right down in the whole Hartford, West, greater Hartford area, and people welcomed me.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you're great.
and
So
I was-
it was like, oh, hey, a real guy.
and then Bert Teague.
Yeah.
Contact.
So this was what year?
I would say 1998, I think.
That late?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've only been here since then, really, living
Wow.
here. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah. I
Huh.
was still in San Francisco all through the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Bert Teague, contacted me, says, "Do you want to
Sure.
start a band?"
Sure.
So
Yeah, man.
I
Yeah.
said, "Sure." We did that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
but then I ended up playing with him for many years.
Yeah.
I think you were on some of those gigs.
Yeah, probably here and there. Yeah, for sure.
Not enough can be said for Bert being the granddaddy and
Yes.
I would say the Uncle Bert for
Yeah.
everybody. He gave a lot of people a shot
Oh, yeah.
and helped
Me
a lot of
included
people.
me.
Yeah.
Me included.
You know.
I started playing with him. All right. We'll see how deep this goes. You ready? So Dr. Demento, do you remember Tom T-Bone Stankus, Existential Blues? Do you remember that? That was a big Dr. Demento hit. I don't know if you knew.
Oh, that was in his top 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Tom Stankus, that was the first gig I did that took me out of my basement when I was like junior or sophomore in high school, playing with T-Bone. And Bert was one of the guitar players. We had a revolving cast of guitar players. So I met Bert when I was, a junior, sophomore in high school. And it was like, oh, okay. So yeah, he taught me a lot. That was a whole other, there were good guitar players in that band, but Bert was, was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And I think for whatever reason, the best version of that band, I guess some people would argue or whatever, but the best version of that band was with Bert. It was like that. He brought it all together because it's like T-Bone, that was Tom Stankus, T-Bone we call him. It was like anybody who's cool, like we know, a bunch of different styles. And Bert tied it all together because he could do anything. So it's like, oh, it's a country tune? Okay, we'll do this.
Oh, yeah.
It's a funky tune, we'll do this. It's, So he made it all. What to me was like the missing ingredient that made everything make sense through him. And it was like, oh man, this is smoking. We had a smoking band.
Bert could do anything.
Yeah.
He could play
Yeah.
any style.
Yeah.
And he did always just bring everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, I don't know if I really understood it at the time because I was so young, but now I realize, as I got older and realized, that Bert was still on the scene and big, I just was like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. Yeah. I was playing with that guy. At the time, he was just another, I didn't, everybody was older, so I didn't know, I knew he was good, but I didn't understand, he was another dude and he stayed for whatever, a year, and then somebody else or whatever. But now I look back and I go, yeah, that was the best.
Yeah. When I moved here, everybody says, you got to hear Bert Teague.
Yeah.
So the first time I heard him at the Hungry Tiger, and there was a good Monday night jam there.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the great players would show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just visiting at the time. I would come for like 4 or 5 days at a time. And on the Monday night, me and my lady.
And there's Bert burning the place
Bert,
down.
and he he approached me.
Hey, that's cool.
You know, a while later when I moved here, he says, "You want to start a band?"
Hey, that's
I
cool.
said, "Yeah, of course." Kind of like when you and I worked with Danny Korchman.
Yeah, we'll get to
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't say no. So
that's the other cool thing about Bert is you're a smoking guitar player too. But it's like he's not competitive. He's just can see that like, hey, this is a good combo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like instead of, that
I
says
ran
a lot
across somebody the other night that I had no idea that he'd seen us back then. He said, "You guys were the dynamic duo."
Right,
guitar,
sure,
you know,
sure,
and I
sure.
said, thank
Yeah.
you, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I used to think so.
But I always thought there were plenty of other great guitar players here too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you had Dennis on. Dennis Fancher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Younger guy, but boy,
Yeah.
he smokes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot. It seems like there's still cats out there. We did that gig with Hallie earlier in the month, and
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now because I just met him.
Oh, you mean Andy?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Right.
It's like,
Andy Sorensen, who was playing with Atlas Gray.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendous guitar player.
was.
Could go out on tour right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in fact, Hallie and him and I are playing, I think, November 12th at the Talcott Mountain Collective.
Oh, good.
So when we do the trio,
Yeah.
it's nice too.
Yeah.
I support with acoustic guitar.
Sure. And then he could.
And early on, speaking of Hallie, you know, I saw something early on that there was something special in her voice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
No doubt.
I, pursued that, and we ended up obviously having what I feel is a really strong vocal blend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. So playing with Bert, Doug LaChapelle, right?
Yep.
On drums. Who was the bass player?
Well, for a while, it was Craig Garfinkel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right, of course.
He didn't mention that on his interview.
He didn't?
No.
Son of a bitch.
I'm gonna call him on that.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know where
he was with us for over a year.
Wow.
And Craig was the guy that can play anything.
Yeah.
You know, he can play giant steps
Sure.
Go on to play. He's
Yep.
And great tone and everything.
Yep. Who
we
else?
had Tom Petrie.
Right, that's
Tom
right.
Petrie
That's
was,
who I
think,
remember.
and Neil Hatcher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dave Stoltz.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
there's been a lot of players and a lot of drummers.
Yeah.
You
know,
at
times.
Rob the drummer, of course.
Sure. Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Doug LaChapelle mostly.
Yep.
He was a very tasteful drummer. You know.
Yep.
Very nifty, I call him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. He's awesome.
A lot of people came through that band.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah.
So many gigs I can't remember.
Yeah. I bet. So, Bert, so when did we? All right. So then the Danny Cooch thing.
Yeah,
kinda. We can kind of get there.
You were playing with Dana, and
right.
We Dana Pomfret.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes with Jeff Pivar.
Yep.
You know, we would do various sundry gigs.
Yep.
And one night, I think it was out in Collinsville at LaSalle, I was playing with Jeff and Dana.
Okay.
Danny was in the audience. We had already been playing somewhat together on one of Dana's albums.
Yeah.
I think Paul Von Schmidt brought Danny to a gig when me and Bert were playing. And Danny walked up to me and he liked my voice.
Hey.
So later on, down the road, he approached me and says, "Tim, I think you want to start a band?"
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what am I going to say? No. No. Not to Danny.
Right.
And he also assigned me the job of getting the rhythm section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I suggested you and Ed Corvo.
Oh, okay.
That's how that came about.
Yep.
I says, I know I got the two guys that would be perfect for the situation.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was not disappointed. Let's just put it mildly.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I knew that. I remember I think Dana gave me the heads up just because I was near her at that moment.
Right.
And said, you know who he is. And I said, yeah, sure. And she's like, he might be calling you trying to do a thing. So I kind of,
right.
I was waiting for the call.
Right. And basically, that first rehearsal, I think we went down to Wallingford, didn't we?
All right. Well, I'll tell you my version. I'll say, okay. So first of all, Danny Korchmar. How do you want to tell do you want me? All right. So correct me if Danny ever listens to this or anybody knows if I get it wrong. So Danny Korchmar was basically James Taylor's boyhood friend. They became friends when they were young.
Yeah,
and
on Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, out on Martha's Vineyard, and then played in bands in New York City. Carole King was involved in there somewhere.
Yeah, the Flying Machine.
The Flying Machine.
Yep. And
So then I don't know how at all, but everybody ended up in L.A. You know, Carole King, James Taylor in L.A., and Danny ended up out there. So he was involved with them. I guess that's kind of part of how it starts, I guess. But played on all the James, you know, everything that you're thinking of up to a certain point, like for at least a decade.
Well, through Danny, James met Peter Asher, too.
Okay.
And obviously, Danny was on the first, 5, I don't know how many albums, and produced a lot of the stuff.
You hear him every day.
He's like the Forrest Gump of rock and roll, as I call him.
Right.
And he also played everything on the Tapestry album.
On Tapestry,
among other things. Yeah. His credits, his discography is Let me
just sidebar, did you ever have this experience? So we ended up playing with Danny, and then get to know his style and get to know his playing. And I mean, I always knew his name because I'm a music nerd. So I was aware of him and his name and roughly what he did, but I didn't, I couldn't really tell. But do you find this is true? Like I'll hear a Carole King song from Tapestry and I'll go, oh yeah, that's Danny. But I didn't know his style, so I couldn't pick it out. And now I hear it all the time. I go, oh yeah, there he is. He is. Cause you get to know his playing. Yeah. But, so from there, I'm sure there's a lot more to fill in, but he's James Taylor, Carole King, Linda Ronstadt, Jackson Browne, Running on Empty, which I grew up with, that record.
Yeah, and he wrote Shaky Time.
Yeah. So he would write and manage to have a song or two on everybody's album because he was a writer. And then branched out into producing during all that and worked with Don Henley when he went solo, among a million other things. Yeah. But anyway, that's that guy. And he ends up in like South Windsor or whatever. Where do you live? Like up there?
North Granby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, North Granby. And then wants to make a band.
Yeah.
And that's how that happened.
That's how we all got together.
That's how we all got together.
We had that rehearsal place in East Granby that we would, me and Danny co-rented together.
Yeah, up there in...
at that point, it was the Korchmar McDonald band.
Sure.
But when we went away to Martha's Vineyard, it was Danny Korchmar and Friends, which made total sense.
Sure, of course.
Because nobody knows.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was that. He was very, very gracious to me.
Yeah.
And letting me do some of my songs.
Yeah.
And also sing some of his great songs that he was involved in.
Yeah.
He's been involved in producing Billy Joel.
Sure.
I mean, there's countless people.
Yeah.
Solomon Burke.
Yeah.
Robin Ford.
Imagine crazy.
Yeah. Tons and tons of stuff. So it was an honor to.
Yeah.
We had 6 years of playing with him,
Yeah. No, it was, it was huge to me. No disrespect to anybody else, because I've had a lot of things that were enjoyable, but that was meaningful. Just because, put it this way. Just for the sake of interest and just going, okay. So you're playing with Danny and he'll make a suggestion as to, because nobody likes necessarily being told what to play. Nobody particularly likes that, but occasionally, he'll be like, oh, hey, why don't you try this? Try this occasionally. And there'll be things on the drums. He would go, but why don't you try this or whatever? And then you just go, okay, so right now, at this moment, I'm being produced by somebody who's produced hit records.
Yeah.
So as a matter of interest, it's like, you know what? And let me try that because he's probably onto something. And sure enough, there are little things that he would kind of suggest to me that I still do that I wouldn't have added to my bag if he didn't say, hey, instead of playing rim shots all the time, why don't you do this for the chorus? And then I go, oh, okay, cool. I never would have thought of that. And then you're like, hey, thanks. You just gave me something I'm going to use from now on.
Yeah. He had good instincts, always.
Yeah. Not to say that other people don't, but he obviously has, as a successful producer, he hears the whole thing.
And and there's other
So
guitar
it was
players.
it was interesting.
Yeah, and there's another guitar player I don't want to not mention.
Okay.
Which is Jeff Pivar.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know,
yeah.
Because when I
right.
moved here, and Jeff is one of a kind.
Yeah.
He's a guitar player. He's a guitar player.
Yeah.
But he's been involved with anybody.
Sure,
Keely
that's another
Jones
one. Yeah,
to Mark Cohn.
Everybody.
And so I always, when he would ask me to play with him, I always was, flattered, obviously.
Yeah.
And just, watching him come to town with various David Crosby and just seeing what he does.
Yeah.
Another great guitar player out of our area.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, there's plenty of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to mention Jeff.
Oh, of
because
course.
he's been
Yeah, for sure.
a killer guitar player.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I know it's funny. I haven't been around that much in too many scenes, but I've met Connecticut. I mean, I've had plenty of what I think. I mean, I have ears that I think are world-class players.
I believe
that we've run across. You know what I mean? I mean,
and that's the term I use too when I see somebody who's
right?
world class.
Right.
Well, and I rubbed up against a lot of people in L.A. and San Francisco. I can remember meeting Randy Jackson and him giving me the tour of the Automat.
Yeah.
David Rubinson managed our band. I played with Tony Williams.
Yeah, right.
Who flew me up to his house. I had no business being in that sentence together, But I always say my life is kind of like Spinal Tap,
In what way?
Well,
the bread's too small, or
the little statues, the little Stonehenge, There's been a lot of hilarious gigs like Puppet Show and Spinal Tap.
Yeah, of course.
All that.
Yeah.
Jazz Odyssey.
Yeah.
We can all relate to that.
Anything. Yeah.
It's not unusual.
Herpes sores.
That's right. You take the vow of poverty when you want to be a musician.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Very few people actually make it. And what is that? You can have success so many different ways.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if you're sharing your music with your local audiences here, then that's success too, because people come up to you and say, "I really appreciate what you did tonight. You really made my night, or you made my day."
That's really all you.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do. Yeah.
And I was recently watching The Immediate Family. A little piece of the documentary.
Oh, cool! I can't wait. I'm glad that this.
Yeah, and you got to keep doing it because you don't want to just lose your chops.
Yeah.
And the musicians that just give up, you can't give up. Because you'll lose your chops. If you don't use it, you lose it. Like
that's what they say. Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm at this point.
I don't know. You haven't, but you have lost a step. So
thank God, not yet. I'm glad that they. I'm just speaking as a music nerd. I remember when the Wrecking Crew movie was making a lot of noise in our world. I was like, those dudes, because they're the next. And I'm glad that somebody figured it out, because I'm like, we got to get this down.
Yeah.
Got to get this story
The Russ
told.
Kunkel, the Danny Korchmar, the Lee Sklar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing against, actually, it was just a matter of time. It's nothing against the Wrecking Crew, but it's like there was another, I don't know how you want to think about it, a half a generation
kind of like a
later
think tank,
or whatever.
That was
recording. Can you imagine all the records that those guys, when you add them up, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, my story. I felt like, not that I'm not validated by anybody else, but you don't really know how good you really are. You think, it's no disrespect, but, people around here, yeah, sure. But to get the validation from him, which he doesn't need to validate anybody, what does he care? And I felt proud of us, Connecticut. I was like, hey.
We're representing.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
He valued your playing. And I know you valued him because he's the only guitar player that, say, Keith Moon ever did a solo album with. I mean, there's little facts here, that Danny produced Billy Joel's last album, River of Dreams.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's like staggering.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, I would. Well, you know me. I would get to a certain point with him. We'd be hanging out, and I'd be just like, "Okay, start telling John Lennon stories. We don't have a lot of time in life. Just can you do mine? Because I'm like, I want to know. I'm a nerd. I know. I probably know the story before as he's telling it, but I want to hear it from the like.
And there's also another little tiny backstory. I wouldn't say tiny. I shouldn't put it that way. The other member of that band, Steve Postel.
Oh yeah,
grew up with Dana Pomfret. Who,
I did. I know Steve, but I didn't end up playing with him. But
and so he moved out to L.A. many years ago and worked his butt off to get where he is.
Yeah.
And so he's part of that whole immediate family too.
Yeah.
And he also is friends with Jeff Pevar. So it's a small,
It's all a thing.
And
Yep.
And,
It's killer.
Intertwined sort of situation.
Yeah, it's
incestuous around here. Everybody's played with everybody.
Yeah.
I noticed, when say 20 years ago, you had a set band.
Yeah.
And nowadays, as you know, you book gigs and you get the people that you can get for that band.
Yeah.
You provide them either a list or the book, as we say.
Yeah.
And everybody shows up and plays and and people say, "Oh, well, this band sounds great." What do you mean? You're not a band?
Yeah.
And
I guess people don't
I guess it's economics and just logistics that make that happen.
Yeah.
And everybody have so many different lives.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I don't want to talk about, I try never to be negative or because I'm sure people are having the time of their lives somewhere doing what they're doing. Kids at Art Street, they're doing it.
Oh yeah, they're still doing it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you used to be. I was still, at least around here, you could be a full-time musician even in one band. I was an 8 to the Bar for almost 10 years or whatever. So you could there was enough work that you could do it. It's not quite like that anymore. So we're all just kind of whoever gets the gig, whoever gets the call.
Right.
But I have a theory, and then we'll get into the final stretch. But I don't know if I've ever said this before, but I don't know Connecticut, the Northeast, because you've grown up in Worcester, even though you went out to San Francisco, but you said there was a lot of gigs up there that you could play. Thing is about the Northeast, growing up in Connecticut, is you could play different markets. So I think that's why a lot of these cats that are, me and older, we could get our chops because you could play.
Yeah.
Where I'm thinking if you're in Des Moines, or whatever, there's only so many.
Yeah, it's probably 4 places, and then you got to drive 200 miles to get to the next market.
Where I did my whole bulk of my career was all one-nighters on the road, but anywhere from starting from Connecticut, anywhere from, Maine to DC was my patch, anywhere in there. So you could play Boston, Rhode Island, all of New England.
Which is why the blues players like to come to the Eastern Seaboard because they don't have to travel so far.
A lot of markets.
People like Debbie Davis when she used to be here.
Yeah.
And of course, economically now, duos, during the pandemic, duos and trios were, because places couldn't afford to pay.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is why me and Hallie, we're kind of self-contained with her playing the cajon, me playing the acoustic. It almost sounds like a band.
Yeah.
Plus we've got 2 vocals, which, it doesn't matter to me that she's a young woman. She's still one of the strongest people I've sung with.
Yeah, it's freaky.
I don't think she can hit a bad note, and I think our vocals are really strong.
Yeah.
And so we're self-contained. And easily bookable.
Why not? Yeah.
So that's another thing that's happened, as you know, in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yep. But that's why I think we get some world-class players around here because you get your hours in back in the day by playing a lot.
Yeah.
Keep
your chops up.
Yeah. All right. We're getting towards the end.
Finish line, yes.
You know what the questions are? Not the wrap-up questions, but
I do not know.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Are you a consistent practicer of your instrument? There's no right answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I have to say.
Yeah. Set goals, reach them, or you just play.
I play and I'm looking for shapes, looking for ideas, and for songwriting.
Yeah.
It's not so much learning chops or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking of where can I put that?
Oh, okay.
Where can I put that shape? Because a lot of times you come up with those things. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to put that in a song.
I see.
So
you're song oriented.
I'm absolutely looking to
that's
put
cool.
that shape or whatever.
Yeah.
Other than that, then it's just chops to me. And I can't compete with those guitar players that have way more chops than me. My thing is the connection between the voice and the guitar.
Yeah,
so to make it all one thing.
Yeah.
It's not a separate issue with me. It's just
it's all the one thing. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. Desert Island albums, a few that you would take with you to your desert island and only listen to them. Give me 3, 4.
As far as, I don't want to say singer-songwriter stuff.
Sure.
It might be a James Taylor album, either Never Die Young, October Road, or the first one. I tend to like his later stuff.
Wow,
you know?
nice, yeah.
As far as rock goes,
Yep.
I think Axis Bold as Love
Sure.
for Hendrix, if I'm going to pick Hendrix, although
Sure.
there's so many there.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know.
Oh, the Beatles, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Without a doubt. The
What's
Beatles.
your favorite?
I would say,
Like, what's the Beatles? Where
well, there's Sgt. Pepper's for everybody. of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
But I think Revolver.
Yeah, well, I just got the new Revolver.
I saw that,
Yeah, it's crazy.
and I thought that was great. What's the other album that's kind of
What,
so
Rubber
many-
Soul?
Rubber Soul?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But see, that's where Beatles '65 I like too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I
I
like.
thought that was an interesting album.
Yeah.
know.
I like all the Beatles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. What other albums? Because you're gonna listen to this and go, why didn't I say?
Oh, I know it's going to be pathetic.
Yeah.
Geez,
It's all right.
I was actually fond of Jethro Tull.
Oh, okay.
You know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Different.
But I'm not really. I'm touching the surface here.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, I know. It's a crazy question.
Um,
Desert island food. What could you eat every day and go, I'm good with this?
Mexican food.
Sure. I hear that. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's cool.
After that, Thai food.
Oh, okay.
And, well, I should say this, though. It's Italian and Mexican,
Sure.
followed by Thai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll
Because you
go
can't
with
leave out Italian food. It's probably the most diverse.
that. Sure.
You got everything.
Yeah. You can
I
get,
love Italian food.
yeah, of course. Most a show that springs to mind that was mind blowing and helped to change your course of your life or career or the way you thought about stuff. Was it already Hendrix at Clark? Like, what did you see that you were like, this makes sense?
You mean the show-wise?
Yeah, that you were an audience member of. You know?
Yeah, I would say Hendrix, but I would also say James Taylor and Carole King, because she opened for him in the Troubadour tour.
Oh, wow.
But it was 25 years beforehand. She
Oh.
played the entire Tapestry album
Wow.
by herself, sitting at the piano.
Wow. That's crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
would say, but another band, another album,
Yep.
and I've got to say this,
Yeah,
that
please.
absolutely changed everything.
I'm ready.
Was the first Crosby, Stills and Nash
Oh, okay.
album.
Yeah.
Every song on that.
Yeah.
That they rocked my world, and they made me change, getting back to the harmony situation and Stephen Stills, because he's the one guitar player who blew my mind on acoustic guitar and electric guitar and his voice, and he could write. So I think all in all,
Yeah.
maybe the most underrated guy out
Yeah,
there,
sure.
Stephen Stills.
Wow.
Without a doubt. Even more than Neil Young to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it kind of brought well, I guess that's what they did for a lot of people. Probably that's why it worked, was that people that had the folk background, suddenly you're like, oh, we can bring this.
Just going to bring it back.
Yeah.
And it was cool again.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, that just blew my world apart in high school.
Far out.
So,
Yeah.
as I said, I was in the band with Mitch Shakur, and we
Yeah.
did a lot of Neil Young, Stephen Stills, great stuff. You know,
Far out.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you see them back in the day or no?
I did.
Yeah.
I saw them at Boston Garden, the old.
What else did you see at Clark? Just because I know that venue. You think of
Let's
back
see.
in the
Like I
day?
said, the original Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green,
Wow.
Danny Kerwin,
Yeah,
and
that's
the other
crazy.
guitar player, Jeremy Spence.
Yeah, probably.
Say, Mountain,
Yeah.
Soft Machine was opening for Hendrix.
Wow.
There were other bands I saw too, but I can't remember. Like even
Yeah.
bands like Manhattan Transfer.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
you know.
Wow. Clark University.
Yeah. And I graduated from 8th grade there because I went to a prep school
Oh, wow.
that was on the Clark University campus.
Yeah.
It was a public school. You had to get all A's and B's your whole life to get into this school for 7th and 8th grade. I ended up getting my diploma in the same stage where I saw Hendrix. I thought that
Hey.
was kind of weird.
That's kind of cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you light your diploma on fire?
No, not at that point. I waited for high school to.
Yeah.
We were always protesting and marching through down Main Street against something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. We'll march today.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's your guitar of choice?
Say what?
What's his guitar of choice? What's his guitar of choice?
Guitar of choice. Guitar.
Well, at the moment, I would say a Telecaster or a Stratocaster.
Yeah, so funny.
I have them all, but I think those are the two that I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And as far as acoustic,
Yeah.
not that I have one now, Martin and
Yeah.
Takamini's are the workhorses
Yeah.
to actually
That's
do
cool.
gigs with.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but we played. I have a funny memory when we played with Danny at Iridium in New York, which is kind of a semi big deal at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And it's two guitar players, for people who don't know, bass, drums, Tim on one side of the stage and Danny on the other. And like you had, I don't know if it was vintage, but you had like a telly with an F hole.
Oh, yes.
And, you had like the rig. And Danny, I correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing I think is interesting about Danny is probably the key to his thing is he goes where the other guy does not.
Right.
Right?
Well, that was his credo. Do what...
To balance it out. So he had like something a little more boutique-y, kind of. I don't know exactly what, but his setup. But anyway, before we went on, I was kind of out in the house just kind of roaming around, and I saw these guys were like taking photos of your telly, and your rig, like taking photo after photo, probably thinking that like this is Fire and Rain. This is the rig. Like they were taking picture after picture of your rig, and I went over to them. I go, by the way, Danny's rig is over there. It doesn't mean anything. It was just funny that in their mind they think, that they're not that they wouldn't take but it was clear that they thought they were getting.
They were a little confused.
They're getting the rig, and I'm like, no, that's Danny's rig over there. This is the other guitar player. This is Tim's rig, and they're like, oh, thanks. And then they went over. But I think they probably looked at your guitar and thought, man, this is the guitar that played on.
This straight ahead Fender, old school Fender, which is what I am.
Yeah, that's fine.
Old school.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that's cool. And then we play with. I thought this was funny, just bizarre, playing with Danny on Martha's Vineyard, which is like his old stomping ground. And it was like Bill Murray and Sally Field were at the same gig.
Right.
It was so
along with Monk.
Right,
and
dude.
Carly, I think, stopped into the dressing room on one
Oh, really?
of them.
I wasn't
in the dressing room with them. I heard she had stopped in.
That was just so funny. My wife goes, Bill Murray's here.
Yeah, he sat down and watched on the floor and watched the band. And then at the end of the night, this demeanor woman was in a hood, was waving goodbye.
Yeah.
It turned out to be. And then Monk walked in, and he liked the band
Tony
an awful
Shalhoub.
lot. Yeah,
it was just fun. But yeah,
I didn't shake his hand though.
Yeah,
he has the OCD thing.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. That's funny. Yeah, you never knew when you did Danny gigs. You'd never know who was gonna.
Well, it was
show
a
up.
stomping ground.
Yeah. But it was just funny. Like, oh, Bill Murray's here. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he had lost his keys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had walked up the stairs and
I don't
decided
remember
to stay.
I don't remember that part. Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
There were a lot of good stories on those gigs.
Yeah, no, there were. Yeah, it's cool. All right. Well, you know what? You made it. Hey, you said you weren't gonna have anything to say, man. But this is good.
Well, I've been avoiding this for a year because I wasn't sure that.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Look, you know how it is.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we got and not only
job.
that, and just for I don't want to be morbid, but we got to get these stories down. We got to get them. Now this will exist. And again, I don't want to be morbid, but someday, well, even now when you're alive, but someone's going to be like, I want to watch Tim McDonald talk and be. Mm-hmm. Now there it is.
Well, it's a time capsule.
It's a time capsule.
It's just like now when you do a gig, somebody can record you. You never know when somebody's going to record you. Put it up there.
So we got you now.
Yeah.
We got you.
I'm sorry that we didn't have iPhones 20 years ago because there was some good music I was involved in that I would like to revisit and see. Well, but It's up
And
here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's up there.
it's
For a
up-
limited
it's a
time
memory.
only, though.
That's
up
right.
there. You never know.
Well, you never know. That may not be true. They may be able to extract that and store it.
That's what I'm saying. Peter Jackson will come up with the technology to
right.
extract. Did you know, this real quick, Revolver, it's suddenly dawning on me. So I'm listening to Revolver. They used artificial intelligence to uncouple the tracks that were smashed together. The drums are in stereo. They weren't even recorded in stereo. How is it even?
I noticed when
stupid.
I saw the clip of a little bit on the promo, and
Yeah.
no, I'm not a huge fan of the remastering,
Yeah.
but I heard that, John, and I thought, wow, it actually did make a difference.
Well, as
and I know
usual-
you had purchased it.
Oh, yeah. Well, as usual, I don't know if I prefer it, blah, 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 but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it, and just put it on the pile, and then it's food for thought.
That's the first one in a long time that I thought, I'd like to have that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right. Well, we got to go.
all right.
You got to go.
Yep.
All right. Tim McDonald was here.
Thanks, John.
All right, man. Of course. Yeah. Come back again if you think
Great
of anything
hanging.
else. Yeah, always. All right. I'm going to press a button. Don't get
All right.
scared. It's going to be loud. Loud. John Peckman podcast. Tim McDonald was here finally. Damn it. I don't need to tell you how to get here. It doesn't matter now. The show's over. Anybody else want to be on here, please hit me up. I'm a little bit slightly under the weather still. I sound a little bit dopey, but that's okay. You can handle it. All right. Thanks for listening. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.